the last 12 months of my marriage was probably the hardest year of my life because being in that turmoil, trying to make the decision, and I had to know I'd done everything to try and save it or to try and make it work. So it's like a huge identity, not crisis, but shift. Huge shift when you've been in a very long relationship, marriage, family unit to break away from that and then start again.
Hello and welcome to the Go Encourage podcast, where I talk to real people about real life, trying to gain some insights from their experiences building courage. Coming up on today's episode is Becky Nevitt, who is a content creator, a business owner, and a mum of 3. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Really makes a difference to this channel, getting out into the right places. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, you can like and follow there as well. And if you'd like to stay up to date with everything that's happening with Go Encourage, Instagram is the best social media that you can find all of that information on, and that is at Go Encourage. Right, let's get Becky into the studio and see what she has to share around the topic of courage. Hello, Becky. Welcome to the Go Encourage podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm really, really good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this chat.
Yeah, me too. I know we had a little pre-call a little while ago and we went on for ages, didn't we? We should have recorded that as a podcast.
Yes. You know, when you just connect with someone and you kind of got similar things going on, it's lovely just to chat. So it was great.
Yes, I totally agree. So there's a tradition on the podcast. The first question I ask people is what their name means. So I'm not one to break that tradition, although I almost did in the last recording I had with a friend of mine. We started talking. Anyway, rein it in, Rix. What does your name mean?
I don't know. I know you will have researched, but I do not know.
Okay, are you ready? Embrace this. Here we go.
So let's go.
All right. So I addressed you as Becky. Your full name is Rebecca, right? And so Rebecca means captivating beauty.
Oh, okay.
And then it also means to tie / bind or connect.
Okay.
So read into that as you will. So captivating beauty and then to bind and connect. So I wonder if you're the sort of person who makes lots of connections and is very much a people sort of person. Yeah,
I am definitely, I love getting to know people. I love connecting with people. And that's a big part of what I do online as well. So yeah. Well, yeah.
There you go. So you know what your name means.
Yes.
I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to name meanings because I feel like it's the one word that gets spoken over you for all of your life. So really what they're doing is declaring whatever that means over you. So I'm always interested. What do people's names mean?
Yeah,
There you go.
I like that.
It's a cool name. In biblical tradition, it's also associated with qualities like faithfulness and strength. So that's kind of cool.
Okay, I like that as well.
So you can flex that muscle as well when you walk around. I thought we'd start straight away with some fun facts about you. Do you feel good about that?
Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's go. All right, here we go. So, Becky, what is your favourite food?
Okay, so a meal, if we're talking meals.
Oh, there's a breakdown. Okay.
There's always a breakdown. There's a breakdown in all of these. It would have to be a Sunday roast.
Nice.
Love a Sunday roast. If I was just talking generally food, chocolate. Chocolate. That's been in the fridge.
Oh no. Oh no, you're one of those.
Yes, I am one of those in the fridge.
What kind of roast? What are we talking?
Okay, I'm going to be very controversial. Nut roast.
Nut roast.
Nut roast, yeah.
Interesting.
Has to have a Yorkshire pudding and has to have cauliflower cheese on the side.
Oh, lovely. Good choices. Yeah, definitely Yorkshire pudding for the win.
Yes.
And then chocolate has to be in the fridge, which, I don't know if I should turn the podcast off now because I'm just absolutely offended. But is there a particular chocolate that you like more than others? Cadbury's chocolate. This is a strange question, but favourite mode of travel? How do you like to travel?
Again, two answers to this, I would say.
Okay.
I'm
seeing a pattern here.
Being in the car by myself with my playlist, whatever given mood I'm in, extremely loud. I just love that. Driving, music. Aside from that, an aeroplane heading to somewhere hot and new.
I think I know the answer to this one. Dress up or dress down?
What do you think my answer is?
I think you'll dress up.
Yes. Any opportunity. I love it.
You're, I mean, it goes over my head, the fashion stuff, but you're like, oh, I got this from here and this is a piece of that and this type of that. I'm like, oh. But okay, dress up. What's a special place for you and why? I'm
going to say home. I am going to say home, I think, because it's where I get to... interiors is a big passion of mine, so it's where I get to express that. Especially my new home, post-divorce, feels very significant because it's mine and it's where I share memories and spend time with my family. So I'm going to say home or on a beach.
Home or on a beach, yeah. Okay. We'll get home by the beach. And then
You're getting that gist.
I'm getting two answers for everything. Okay, I'm with you. Is there a book or a movie that changed your life?
The book that I have reached for over and over and over again was The Baby Whisperer. Many years ago, when I had my son, who is now 14, I'm someone when I'm doing something for the first time, or I'm like I was 20 when I had my son. So I didn't know what I was doing, and I want to research, I want a plan, and then I follow that plan, that routine. So that was like the sleep training and the routine, and it just resonated with me. And I just went back to that book so many times, having all my kids. So that's probably the book that made me feel very empowered and competent as a very young mother to 3 kids.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to put a link to that book in the description if anyone's watching this on YouTube, and maybe it'll help someone else as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. And what made you come on the podcast today?
I love what you do. I love the idea behind talking about courage. I think it's something that is in all of us, and we face it and we try and apply it to different things when we're going through big events. And for me personally, I share quite a bit of my life online, and I tend to only get to do that in snippets. So it's really nice for me to be able to come on to this type of format where it's a podcast and we can speak much more in depth, and then I can share that, because I do connect with a lot of women and men in my messages, and if I can sort of share my side of things and it gives some encouragement or hope or positivity to anybody going through the same thing, then that's great for me.
Excellent. And I'm very open. So if there's anything in particular that you would like to unpack, as we sort of explore courage, then we're happy to go down that road as well. So give you that opportunity. The big question, Becky, have you subscribed to the Going Courage podcast on YouTube yet?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Yes, Becky.
Yes. I love it. I love the guests that you've had. I think it's just a very inspiring sort of thing to talk about, because it means something different to everyone, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think for me as well, the topic, there's no expert, right? We all have our obstacles, we all have our challenges, and it's kind of reassuring to know you're not the only one going through really difficult times. There's a whole bunch of people, if not everyone, who's facing something somewhere, and maybe we can learn from one another. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Are you aware of the love languages test? Have you ever taken that?
Yes, and it's quite apt. Now I'm very new to dating as well, having never dated in my life. I find it really interesting, and I suppose if I had to pick a couple that were probably what I would lean to would be physical touch and acts of service, maybe.
Okay, all right.
But all of them in...
Yeah.
Again, I'm indecisive. I want it all.
and the thing is, we do connect in all of the ways.
We do, yeah.
And I think it's a good indicator of, how you receive love. But funnily enough, it's how you automatically would give love out as well.
Yes, yeah. I think physical touch is probably the top one.
Mm-hmm. So I'd imagine, I'm guessing here, that if one of your children had a little ouchie, using children's language there, your natural instinct would be to go and cuddle them.
Yes.
If physical touch is your,
I'm like smotherer, and my now children, my teenage boys who are taller than me are like, oh, get off us, Mom.
Yes.
I think they like it, really.
I think that, I'm having the same thing with mine. My children are the same age as yours, just a year out. And it's like, oh, do you have to do the hug? Oh, if you have to do it, can you just do it now, please? And you're like, wait, what happened? What happened? What?
I think secretly they want it, they need it, but they pretend not to in these teen years.
Or that special moment, where you're watching something, you're doing something, and then they come and put their head on your shoulder or something, and you've got to be like, play it cool, don't spoil the moment, don't overhug them, they're going to run away.
There's a whole thing to navigate, isn't there, once they get a bit older? Yeah,
absolutely. All right, thanks for that. And then in terms of spirituality, are you spiritual? Do you believe in a higher power, anything like that? Do you believe there's more to life?
Yeah, I would say I'm spiritual, but I don't follow a specific religion. But yeah, I think there's a higher force at play, definitely, and don't know quite what that is, but I'm spiritual, I would say.
All right, and this is a bit tongue in cheek, right? You can go deep or you can go funny with this, but if you could sum up in a few sentences, what would you say the meaning of life is, Becky? Look at that. What's that? How's that for a question?
I would say to love, to find your purpose, to grow. That's as far as I've got with knowing what the meaning of life is. But I think to always be evolving and growing and seeing where that takes you.
I mean, it's a beautiful answer, to be fair. It's deep. You're the first person I've asked that question to. I just
really?
Recently introduced it. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, love is such a key. I think it's like a key universal thing that everyone pretty much instinctively knows, isn't it? Like there is something.
And that can be love with your children, with your friends, with your family. Romantic love, it comes in so many forms, but I think a life without love is, I think it's important, so important.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. Some people say the opposite of love is hate, but actually some people say it's indifference. So when you're passive and you're not driven by love, then you don't have a source of passion or drive or the desire or want to express that love. Yeah, like you beautifully put it, it doesn't have to be romantic, it doesn't have to be just for your kids. It could be the love for humanity, a love for the arts, a love for a particular hobby. Okay,
passion as well. I think just having your passions, and that's my answer.
It's a great answer. Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't prepared. Okay, so let's find out a little bit about you. Let's talk about courage. Let's have a little peek into Becky's life. So where are you originally from?
I'm from a little town called Nantwich in Cheshire, up north. And I was born, raised, and still live here. Small town girl.
Okay. Excellent. Can you share a little bit about your family background, the dynamics you grew up with?
Yeah, so mom, dad, and brother. I also have 3 stepsisters, which are quite a bit older from my dad's previous marriage. which I never lived with. So they almost felt like aunties because their children were a similar age to me and my brother.
Right.
So that was sort of that dynamic. So it felt like my mom, dad, me, and my brother. And yeah, lovely, happy childhood, I would say. We have a family business. So we've always been my mum and dad set that up, and then me and my brother have gone in and work in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be bonding and challenging in equal measure. It's a dynamic, it's something I'm so proud of to be a part of. But as anyone can imagine, working with parents, siblings, it's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
I can relate in that I've been in a couple of organisations where I've worked with my sister, funnily enough. And we both were a bit like, oh, is this going to work? But we actually, we were it worked so brilliantly, and we were complementary in our skills and things like that. So it worked out quite well.
Pluses and minuses, definitely. But it's, I'm very proud of it. Very proud of the shops.
Would you like to plug your business? You can if you want to.
I can. It's Webhouse Furnitures in Nantwich. And we've been going for 50 years, celebrated 50 years last year.
Wow.
Opened a second store. So yeah, I'm very proud of it.
Excellent. Is it a particular type of furniture?
Everything. So traditional, modern, all different price ranges, beds, sofas, wardrobes, everything. Everything you could need for your house.
For all your furniture needs. I like it. So as a young girl, did you have an ambition, or did you envision your life going a particular way? Was there something that appealed to you? In terms of career, I'm talking.
I think as a little girl, I think because I loved children and animals was always my focus. I think I used to say that I wanted to marry a farmer and have so many animals and have about 7 children. I couldn't think of anything worse.
Wow.
So that was kind of my very little girl. And then I never really wanted to go into the family business because it was one of them things where we'd finish school and we'd go and sit at the shop and wait till it finished at 5 o'clock. And it just felt a bit boring, really, as a teenager. So I had all different ideas, but then at 16 just started in the business.
Okay, all right. You know you're going to get a whole bunch of farmers sliding into your DMs now with I've got 52 animals and I've got 48. Okay, so if we fast forward to today,
yes,
I'm already making the link with the furniture business here.
Yeah.
But if we fast forward today, what is it that you do now, and how did you find yourself going from where you were then to where you're at now in terms of career?
So I'm still working in the family business part-time.
Mm-hmm.
I do the accounts and I do the showroom styling and things because that's just my passion that I love. But about 6 years ago, I was renovating my last house, and I just thought, I'm just going to document it on Instagram, and I'm sure nobody will follow me. And then they did. And what is my something that I feel comes quite naturally to me, it's a passion, it's a hobby, is renovating houses, interiors, styling, DIY. I just love it. And as I shared it, people started to follow, and what went from just a hobby to a little passion project, my small Instagram account has now become a career that I adore. And I never saw that coming. I never would have put myself as a creative person, actually. And I've realised through my account and what I do interiors-wise, I'm more creative than I thought I was. Mm-hmm. So I really, really enjoy that side of what I do as well.
Excellent. And I think, so I've followed your account for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I think I followed probably 4 or 5 different interior design type stuff, because I think I was probably designing something back at home there.
Yeah.
And then I think yours is the one that's lasted the distance, because you've been going for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's about 6 or 7 years ago. So it's just been very, very gradual, and yeah, but I love it. And obviously now I've just moved house, so I have the ultimate project to take on.
Yeah. I saw you painting radiators the other day.
I was.
And I think you asked us, didn't you? Do you think this is a good thing? Would you paint a radiator?
Controversial.
Did you get much of a split response?
Yeah, it went quite viral actually, that video. And then you always get people in the comments, but I mean, I think it looks better, so that's all that matters.
Okay. I did vote on that one.
Did you? What did you vote?
I voted without paint.
Oh,
I know.
no.
I like the contrast of the white radiator. That's cool. Whatever, go and eat your fridge cold chocolate, okay? All right, so let's talk about courage. What does courage mean to you?
I think it's something that we all can face at different times. For me, I have found myself 2 years ago now at quite a big crossroads in my life. And I think throughout life, you can find yourself at these crossroads, where there's a big decision to be made. And once you make that decision, your life's going to go in a different direction. And it's in those moments, I think, where you have to decide which way you're going to go, and you have to trust yourself. And even though what's on the other side is unknown a lot of the time, it's taking the step anyway. That's what I would say courage is, how I would interpret it anyway.
No, it's good. It's a good way to look at it as well, because there is a decision to be made.
Yeah.
You know, when you're at a crossroad. Because in life you can plod along with stuff, can't you? But when there is a crossroad, you're forced to go one way or the other, aren't you?
Yeah, I think when you find yourself in a very conflicted situation where you can't stay as you are, you've got to just make a decision, and whether that is careers or relationships, or there's various other things, but when you make the decision, you're going to go down that path, and your life may look quite different when you make that decision. And I think that takes courage.
Yeah, I'm with you. And sometimes you make the wrong decision. You might paint a radiator and regret it afterwards.
Never.
But sticking on that, I think what I want to ask you is, when you are at that crossroad, of course it's going to be different for different decisions, so I appreciate this is kind of a generalized question, but is there something that happens on the inside, or is there a technique or a habit or something that you bring to the forefront to actually make yourself take a decision?
I really, really value therapy in this situation. I think for me personally, because I love psychology, and so I just immerse myself in that world of self-development, and whether it's podcasts and books. And a lot of the time, I would say I'm fairly good at going over things and making sense of things. But if I have a big decision to make, or I have something that I feel conflicted and I can't make the decision, almost like my head just feels scrambled by it, and I might lean on friends and family, and I still can't seem to figure out what the best thing to do. And with a big decision, that's quite normal. I found being able to go into therapy regularly, and it was like I'd take my scramble out of my head, and we'd lay it on the table, and we'd line it up and make sense of it. And then that gave me just that neutral outside perspective to get me out of my own head and to just analyze it from a psychological perspective helped me so much. And I've used that, and I know I'm very fortunate to be able to access therapy because it isn't available to everybody. And I think with a lot of things, that's what I rely on to help me make that decision, whatever that is.
And it's so powerful, yet simple. And so I'm a big advocate for therapy as well. I've accessed it lots of times for lots of different reasons. And I am an advocate for men to seek therapy and be okay with seeking therapy, because I know there's a whole stigma around men going in that direction. So we are on the same page here. But with that thread being opened here, what would you say to anyone who's listening today as an advocate for therapy?
I think we live in such a busy time. We're so busy, and we give time to a lot of things, whether it's going to the gym to work on our strength or our physique. For women, we're getting our hair done, we go get our nails done, and that's an hour here, an hour there. We'll spend money and spend our time doing things, but we don't tend to just switch off the noise and just have an hour where we work on our mind. And even though you can do a lot of that with chatting to your friends, and you can find a lot of comfort in that, and that's great, but when you don't always want to just be talking about yourself, and you want to check in on your friends, so you've got that dynamic, whereas you sit down in a therapy room, and this is about what your thought process is, how just unpicking things that may just be impacting the way you're living your life, that you've never gone through, you've never sort of unpicked properly. I just see so much value in it, and I would have found it extremely difficult to get from A to B without it.
Yeah. And I like what you said there. We can have friendships and really, really close relationships with people who care about us, but to have a trained professional come and draw out things that maybe are difficult to draw out yourself, and then reflect back to you what might be going on. It's more powerful than you can imagine. There's a lot of revelation that comes out of that then gives you clarity and drives action, doesn't it?
Yeah, I almost come out with, my therapist, I adore her, but I come out with like these nuggets of wisdom and I make notes in my phone, and I think, I could apply that to this area and this area. And even down to, I've gone through the divorce and I'm co-parenting. I will go in and sort of say, right, this is what's happening. How do I get the kids to get through this in the best way? And I can really tap into her view, her neutral view, and her looking at it from a psychological perspective, because however much our friends and family love us, they're not neutral. Their advice is the best advice they can give. But I think when you're making a big decision as well, people who know you don't want to be the one that says, yes, do it. Because then it's such a big thing, and it's such a big impact. Whereas to discuss it properly with somebody and come to that decision by yourself is amazing. It's been so helpful for me, and I recommend it to everybody.
Excellent.
Constantly giving out my therapist's number. I don't think she needs to do any advertising.
So another referral's come in. Okay, here we go. Excellent. Brilliant. I think, okay. I think we've plugged therapy quite strong there, but I'm with you. I think there have been times when I remember going to therapy for the first time, and this is like going back to uni days. Very showing my age here. So this is like 20 years ago, and I'm going to the therapist, and I'm so anti it. Like, I'm a man. I don't need to talk about my feelings. So that one didn't go too well. but that was on me. And then the next, I mean, I've been to a few different types of things, specialists for specialist things. And then what I found was you're paying someone to help you. So why fight it? It's it's not economical sense.
Yeah.
And B, you're only going to avoid or mask things by not being open and authentic and actually talking about what it is. And then when you do that, you actually find, oh, it wasn't even the thing you thought it was actually something completely different. But the way that intertwined with your life actually has an impact somewhere else as well. So that's all part and parcel of the journey, isn't it? The experience.
Yeah. And I think it's finding a therapist that works as well, or a type of therapy that works for you. Like, we're all so different. And I think it's once you find that, you can then start to do the work and get the benefits from it.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you for that. Is there a significant moment in your life that you might want to share where you had to overcome a fear and respond with courage? How did that play out for you?
I think the biggest decision I've ever made was to leave my marriage.
Okay.
And I think it feels so huge because you've no idea what the other side is going to look like. And that's very scary from all elements, financially, emotionally, just physically, running a house on your own, just being on your own. You don't know how that's going to feel till you're there. And I would say, from the outside looking in, my marriage, my family unit, it almost was like picture perfect from the outside. 3 children, we'd renovated quite a number of houses, so we'd moved up the property ladder, had my dream home, regular holidays, we were good friends. And it almost felt like throwing a hand grenade into my life. And once I'd made that decision, that was it. And I wouldn't know what the other side would look like. And this was something that really helped me in therapy, actually, towards getting nearer to making my decision, was I think we can think or build up the fear of all these things of, well, how will I do this? And how will that happen? And our mind just races with it. And my therapist said to me, when you make a decision, whatever that is, you then you just take it a step at a time, and you'll just start to feel the edges of what the new situation feels like. And bit by bit, you'll start to feel it, and you'll start to get through it, and you'll take a few more steps. And it was just almost taking that overanalyzing of all the things that could be really challenging, and just knowing it's the right decision, knowing that I can trust myself, knowing that I will be okay, and I've got an amazing support around me, and then just making that step. I think that's been the biggest decision I've ever made.
Yeah. And you shared that relationship was a long relationship.
20 years, yeah. So when I was 14, I met my ex-husband, and we had our first child when I was 20, got married at 22, had another 2 children. Like I say, renovated lots of houses. And 20 years in one relationship, I've never known anything else. Never dated, never lived on my own, never done anything. Everything was in this partnership. So it felt very, very scary.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. And the length of the relationship, and you said you were 14 there as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like you went into the relationship with 10 years of living on your own and sort of, having all these other experiences, and having to make a decision like that, I think you said not knowing what was on the other side. I think your words were throwing a grenade out there and not knowing what would happen. Just magnifies that even more, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think not knowing what it's going to look like, but knowing it's the right decision, and just having to move forward.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and just sort of and see how it is as we go through it, and just step by step.
Yeah, and I think the journey, and so I'm relating to what you're saying. I'm a very similar situation, almost 20 years as well, and I was the one who made the decision, and it was a difficult one to make. But it's not something that you spend a couple of weeks on with a pros and cons list and a little bit of meditation. It's grueling, like working through those emotions, those feelings, those thoughts, weighing up the logic, trying to assess what is the best outcome and how to get to that place in a way that is meaningful and respectful for all parties involved, especially when there are children involved. It takes a heavy toll. It
does, and I think the last 12 months of my marriage was probably the hardest year of my life, because being in that turmoil of trying to make the decision, and I had to know I'd done everything to try and save it, or to try and make it work. So that was the therapy and the couples therapy and the lots of open conversations. And it's tough, because I think the brain doesn't like to be in, it likes to know what it's doing, where it's going. And I think to always have this internal conflict where you're not happy, you need to make this decision. It's a really, really tough place, and almost feels like a relief when you make the decision in a very weird way.
Yeah, they say that, don't they? When you make a decision, you almost know if it's the right decision minutes, moments, hours afterwards, because the response your body has gives you a signal you're doing something that aligns all the way through.
And even though it's extremely painful process, and there's children and there's families and friends and there's so much, but in your heart you've made the right decision, and I've never questioned it since. And I know that I did a lot of work and I took a lot of time before making that decision. And it's painful and it's very tough, but it's the right thing. It's definitely been the right thing for me.
And I think I'm going to add a little bit here. It's not like you love someone for that length of time and then you just switch it off. No. There's an element of love that I think keeps going. It's different, of course. But there is this, look, we can't keep going on like this. It's not serving anyone. Either we give it our all, or we accept the reality of what is already happened, and now it's about formalizing that and finding a pathway that works as best as possible.
And just keeping the children at the heart of that, and trying to navigate the co-parenting and the dividing of your life. It's you just got to take it as it comes. But when you get married, when you have a family, you never think that this is going to be the way your life goes. So it's like a huge identity, not crisis, but shift. Huge shift when you've been in a very long relationship, marriage, family unit, to break away from that and then start again.
Yeah. It's a grieving process because something has died. I had a lady called Kat on the podcast a little while ago, and she was talking about having 3 entities in a relationship. So there's yourself, there's your partner, and then there's the overlapping part, and that's the third entity, and that's the relationship. And so when something like this happens, whether it's separation, divorce, a breakup in a girlfriend boyfriend situation, that third entity is now dying, and then there's this element of grief that comes with that, regardless if you're the one who made the decision or the other person is, although those do come with different dynamics as well. But the middle part is starting to fade away, or is an instant sort of disconnection depending upon the situation. But it is a death, so there is a grieving process to it. And I like what you're saying in terms of the therapy helps on multiple levels, but one of those levels is to help you grieve the process and work through all of what comes with that.
Yeah, and I think ultimately the goal is that you can both be happier and be more at peace. And I think a big difficulty when making a decision like this, when you have a family, is the impact on your children, because they are everything. But happy parents are going to be the best for them. If you can be separate and happier, that is definitely of benefit to them. And I think I had to really keep reminding myself of that, because you can feel like you are breaking everything apart, but it was already breaking behind the scenes, and I didn't want that to continue to unravel or unfold before their eyes. So I think, making the decision and just choosing to fill up your own cup and focus on yourself as individuals, as parents, you can then show up better for your children. But it's hard to see that when you're trying to make that big decision.
Absolutely. And then, the added element to that is you can do that work yourself, come to those mature spaces. Actually, before I make my point, just touching on yours, it's easy to think you stay together for the children. But I think I read a quote somewhere that said people try and stay in their marriage, toxic marriages, toxic relationships. We are by no means endorsing having a divorce for the sake of having a divorce. But in these toxic situations, children are learning the wrong things about love. So by staying together, you're actually doing some damage. Because they think that this is the norm for a relationship, so that when they go off into the world and have those natural romantic relationships, whatever they look like, they will assess that subconsciously with the relationship that they saw modeled out for them. And that is a problem. That's a real problem that gets missed.
And I think you would want your children to grow up and feel like if they were unhappy in a relationship or a situation, that they could remove themselves from that or make changes or feel empowered and strong enough to do that. So there's a lesson in itself, but it's hard because it's that family unit. It's what you envisaged your life to be, and then it's all going to change. So it's a big move, making that choice.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to hear a sad statistic? Right.
Okay.
Let me grab my mint for this just to perk me up. So, out of marriages that were surveyed, and it was done in however these scientific things are done, 52% of marriages end up in divorce. Right. And so if you look at that as just that surface level, you could go, oh my gosh, that's terrible. 1 in 2 marriages pretty much don't work. I mean, okay, surface level, right? But what we do is we tend to leave it there. If you look a little bit deeper, of the 50% that stay together, I think it was 26% of them are absolutely unhappy and are living miserable lives, borderline depression, health issues, all sorts of toxicness that's been portrayed, projecting onto friends and family, etc., etc. But they stay in the marriages because they think it's the right thing to do. And then you've got 24% left over who actually have successful marriages. And so when they went into the 24% to see what makes them successful marriages, the key thing that they found was that each partner prioritized the other and served each other. Now, that doesn't mean that they were in each other's pockets and that's all they ever did, but it just meant that my partner is a priority, so I'm going to absolutely do the things in my life that I'm passionate about, but they're going to be aligned with the feelings and the desires of my partner as well, so that between us we can have this dance where we're supporting each other in our goals, etc., etc. And unfortunately that takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of effort. And what we're seeing is in a world of instant gratification, people are moving away from that hard work, or I say inverted commas hard work, but obviously the dividends pay off incredibly. But I was just really interested in that study, and I was like, that's fascinating, because we just leave it normally, 1 and 2, okay, that's it, and we move on. But actually there's a whole range of things that are going on within that as well.
And I am someone that I will try to pick the positive out of any situation. And I do think, generations ago, the stigma around divorce, or even the ability for a woman to leave a marriage financially, it was just not an option for a lot of couples. And to be in the time that we are now, where as individuals, male, female, we're much more financially independent. We focus on ourselves. We sort of know what we want and need out of life. We have that option. Not everybody has that. I completely appreciate that. But on the whole, we're in a much better place to make those decisions from generations ago. So even though them statistics are what they are, I think people are choosing their happiness and their life. We've got one life.
Yeah.
One life. And I really had to sort of think about that, because I think we can, like you've said before, you can plod on, you can keep going with something that isn't right. And it's ultimately, that's not going to bring you happiness, either of you in a relationship.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. I had I don't know what to say, a disagreement, let's say, with a friend, a while. This is a couple of years ago, so I think it's okay to talk about it. I'm not naming any names.
Yeah.
But he was so disappointed and disgusted with my decision, so he was trying to really kind of like hit his opinion home. Not that I asked for it. And he was given the example of his mum and dad, who'd been together, 50 years, etc. And he was pointing to them as role models of marriage. And he said what had happened in this scenario is that his father had cheated on his mother multiple times. He was an alcoholic and he used to beat her. And I was like, this is awful. Like, this is just horrific. And the point he was trying to make was, but she stayed with him. She remained faithful. She did the right thing. She was dutiful, all the things. And then she died. And when she died, that was when the father realized how badly he treated her, stopped drinking, but then he shortly had a heart attack and died too. And I was like, okay. And you're like, it's a sad story, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, but what I'm trying to say to you is regardless of all of that, they stayed together. And I just was like, mate, we are not on the same page here at all. Like, that is not okay. Like, that is, I mean, I haven't experienced anything like that. It's quite I feel sad knowing that that person had to go through that.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, if you're in that situation, absolutely, I would want you guys not to be together. That's horrible. Like, that's not okay at all. So I found it really surprising that in today's world,
Yeah.
There are people who would push just for the sake of being married.
Yeah.
You would put up with, or, you know, be tortured, abused in whatever way you want to put it, just for the sake of having that title, and weigh up whether or not you're a moral person based on that. I was just like, wow, that's mind blowing.
There has obviously so much stigma around divorce, and I think that's where having these open conversations, and there's a lot more spoken about divorce and separation and, you know, co-parenting, single parenthood now, and there's so much more support and community out there, that stigma is nowhere near what it was. But I think there will always still be people certain generation where they just don't see it the same. But that's why conversations are so important, aren't they?
And I think so. And I think it's worth also saying that, and I can't speak for every divorced person, but it's worth saying, like, people who are divorced, they don't wear it as a badge of honor. It's not like, hey, you know, we're advocates for divorce, come and join the club. Like, let's, you know, is your husband causing a problem? Divorce him. You know, it's not like that at all. It's more of a, I've been through this. I experienced the pain. I see your pain.
Yeah.
And so they're, you know, the people that have come and supported me through some of this tough stuff, that have gone down the journey, have been the most warmest, loving, you know, what you would say in the olden days of Christian way of turning up for people. Like, they have been the ones who've been on the journey, whereas the ones who've got their inverted commas lives all together have been the most judgmental, like the most, you know, offensive, upsetting, and you go, there's something not right here. Something is not, you know, working to help people who are going through difficult things. Yeah.
It is interesting as well who's there and who isn't when you get divorced. I'd heard that before I sort of went into it, but it's, you know, I've had friends that I would say are like, they were just acquaintances maybe before, and they've shown up amazingly. So that's a positive, that you get amazing connections in community and support from people that you wouldn't have necessarily had that bond with, but then you can be there for each other, because it's a tough journey for many reasons, and I think to have that community together is so helpful.
I agree. I have I've always been a people person, big circles, and, you know, they say, you know, people who have loads of friends don't have any real ones, and I'm like, no, that's not me. I've got so many friends, and they're all real, and we all have the greatest, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And then when the divorce happened, or we're going through the process, the ones who have been incredible friends before, the ones who have been during, are the ones that I'll take forward, because my circle is so small, but it's so authentic and it's so real. And exactly that. The ones that would say they take a bullet for you, etc., you're my brother, etc., completely fade away, run away, judgment, etc. And that's not me like playing the violin saying, oh, poor me. That's just a way of assessing your life, seeing how people show up, and the caliber and the depth of the love that people have for you. And those are your people that you want to spend this one life that you referred to earlier on for the rest of your days, because, you know, you want to know that you have quality relationships moving forward.
I mean, what I would do without my powerhouse of women around me. I have my circle of women, my mom being at the absolute top. She is my best friend, my crutch, my laughter, my everything. And beyond that, I have just some incredible women, and they are my strength when I need it. And they're, amazing. They're everything.
I'm glad to hear it. That sisterhood is good. Before we move on from that, just while we're in this space, I don't know if you ever watched the TV show Ted Lasso.
No.
Okay, so Ted Lasso was my was my support structure when I was going through the worst part of it. I don't want to spoil it for you now. He goes through a divorce. Okay, I'm sorry, I spoiled that part.
Okay.
He's not the one that chooses it, but he goes through it. But some of what the show goes into, it's not about divorce, by the way. It's about people and relationships and football, etc.
Okay.
But some of what he goes through really made such a significant impact on me, because I was going through things at a similar time, and it became my like therapy on the side there. But then it's my episode, what's going to happen, that kind of thing. And it was so beautifully done. So if you ever get a chance to watch a TV show, I would recommend Ted Lasso. It's very, very, very good.
It's nice to have a little mine was Sex and the City right from the beginning when I first separated. It was relationships, dating. It was just very, I loved that. So I'd watched it all before as a teenager, and
I got you.
Revisited it and rewatched it all as a divorcing woman, and I things made so much more sense to me.
You're like, I get it now. Okay. Yeah. Okay, excellent. So yeah, for me, I started following your content because of the interior design. Very stylish, by the way, I have to say. And then when you went on this journey, I was like, oh my gosh, you're going through this as well. We connected a little bit. We had our chat, and then there was so many similar sorts of patterns around that as well. So I thought I could ask you a couple of sort of follow-up things, and then I'd like to talk about the next step forward, so the positive way out as well. So this is not all doom and gloom if you're listening and you've made it this far. But was there a particular moment where you felt, okay, I'm starting over? What do I do now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I did so much processing, like I said, within the marriage, and so much turmoil within the marriage, that once I'd made the decision, and obviously did the very painful thing of telling the children and family and friends, and once we'd got through that initial sort of untangling everything and making everyone aware of the situation and it becoming very real, I felt relief, and I felt like I'd been through the worst. In a lot of ways. By the time I was ready to sort of start this next chapter, like I said, I do try to find, I'm a very sunny side up person, and it's not been easy. There are weeks, days where I feel absolutely broken for one reason or another, but I think setting out, I felt peace, I would say, because I'd decided and I was moving forward. So I felt at peace, I think. And then it was the process of putting the family home up for sale, which was my pride and joy, where my Instagram started. I'd renovated it, and selling the home was tough. But again, these were all little steps to starting the new chapter. And where there's an ending, there is a beginning. And we can, I think, just close a chapter and I just try and see it in the most positive way that I can. Most of the time. It's not always easy at all. I don't want to claim that it is at all, I think. But just starting with that approach of, this is going to be an exciting project, and I'm going to have my own home, and it's for me and my children, and just feeling very empowered and at peace, I would say, is how I felt in that initial moment. But the year before, leading up to that, was incredibly tough.
And some of those feelings, like I can resonate with the peace. I think there's you can't buy peace. So when it comes, you are like, I am holding on to that. That's amazing. I think you said empowered. That's a very strong emotion as well. And I guess for people listening, I want to move away from that whole idea of the divorce. So they're having all these parties and they're having the best time of their life, and they're just like, oh, I don't care who I hurt. My happiness is more important than anyone else's. All of that kind of stuff is just not true.
No.
You still have the grieving that we talked about earlier on. You still have the pain, the saying goodbye, the untangling of life. And I think you talked about identity shift as well.
Yeah.
But it's kind of wrapped. Maybe wrapped is the wrong word, but you have on the other side, you have this peace and clarity, which again is priceless. So it's kind of, you're holding these two very different spaces in the same space at the same time, and then trying to function and raise 3 kids as well.
And everything else in between.
And everything else.
Yeah, I think I almost needed to look at it as a new beginning, a time to learn about me, especially because my relationship started when I was so young and I had children so young. My youngest son is almost 8 now, so they're all at school and I'm past sort of the toddler years. So very gradually there's been a bit more space for me. And then this has been another layer to that I'm learning more about who I am now than I've ever done before. And that is coming because I'm on my own. I'm living alone. I'm raising children solo, co-parenting, but, when they're with me, it's just me. And dating, and just there's so much to experience. And I'm doing a lot of growth. So it's a new beginning for me, and I find peace in looking at it in that way. So I think even though it has its challenges and it is tough, just trying to keep with that positive view that there's so much joy and happiness to come.
And I guess I'm reading from that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's falling in love, isn't it, with yourself and starting to see yourself for yourself, and you're going, oh, I really like that about myself. Oh, I didn't know that about myself, or even not a big fan about that area of my life. Let me see what I can do to address that, and all of this stuff starts to come to light. Because they do say when you're married, when you're in a relationship, it does draw out the worst in you as well, because you're now having to not have that on the inside. You're bringing it into this third entity. Whereas when you're by yourself now and you've had the experience, so it's not like the other side when you were very young, to be fair, at 14, but now you're at this place where you're mature, hopefully, wise, hopefully. And you can make decisions as an adult, whether that's getting in a car, going somewhere, doing something, getting some, R&R, TLC, etc., etc. But no one's telling you what to do. No one's, there's no teacher. There's no, you've got to get this done. It's you now, and you've got to show up for yourself. No one else. That saying that it's all over Instagram and wherever you look. It's no one's coming to help. No one's coming, and you go, no, really, no one is coming to help me with this internal stuff.
That's where you become powerful, and that's where you see that you can do things you never thought you could do. Where you are in situations where you are managing things on your own, and you feel so proud of yourself. And there's lots of little moments like that in divorce, and for all the difficulties that come with it and the hard moments, there's so much positive moments as well, where you can see what you're capable of. And when you're in a partnership, especially a very long relationship, you lean on each other for things. so to do things solo for the first time, it's fascinating. I mean, like I said, I love psychology, so I look at everything very from that lens. But there's so much to learn about yourself when you go down this road, and that there can be a lot of positives, like you say.
Yeah, I agree. And your ego, that defensiveness, all the stuff that maybe has come out of the toxicity in a relationship that doesn't work. I'm using my words carefully. That's dropped away. So if you're doing or choosing to do things now, you can't hide by blaming the other person. This is you now. You've got to be like, okay, this is something I see a pattern in my life that I now need to address and have to take accountability for, which then is empowering if you're willing to go there with courage and face that.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're all evolving, and there's always room for improvement. I mean, I've realized that, I've always been quite a chaotic person, and I'm late to everything, even however much I try. But a lot of people would be very surprised, but I'm naturally a very messy person.
I'm so surprised, honestly. I know we had this chat and I was like, oh, your emails, you're so organized, and you were like, Rix, I'm not organized. I was like, what?
I'm hanging on by a thread. If I didn't have all the reminders popping up on my phone, but people think my house, I always get the question, how does your house look so pristine with 3 boys?
Yeah, where are the socks, Becky? Where's the football shoes?
I can show you now. It's a case of scoop everything to the side and shoot in that room. But there's chaos behind the scenes. And naturally, I am not an organised person. I never have been, no matter how much I try. But we get it all done in the end, one way or another. There's a method to the madness.
There's a method to the madness. Okay. Well, there's just madness in your method of not having a method. I don't know. So what advice would you give someone who's at the start of their journey? Now, it doesn't have to be a divorce journey. That's not what I mean by this question, but just at a start of a journey where they're like, okay, I'm starting over. It might be a new job. It might be a new hobby. It might be something that we can't think of right now. But what would you say has worked in your life as a way of starting something new?
I do like to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I would say, I know we've not really spoken about fitness, but that's a huge, huge crutch for me. It's something I lean on. I adore it for just mind, body and soul, de-stress, everything. And I never used to be into exercise. So
it's a recent thing in your life then?
Yeah. I would say probably the last 5 years, maybe. Prior to that, didn't like it at all. Just did it because I had to. Now, my calendar is scheduled around the classes that I love, and I am so protective of that time because of what it does for me. I've found my passion. I've found what I love in fitness. So circling back, the pushing myself out of my comfort zone I've probably done that most with fitness challenges like the marathon and things I just didn't think I could do. I love to put myself in them environments because I know how good it feels afterwards. So, and it builds that inner strength, that resilience in yourself when you can it's like your armor, to when you're going to face something that is challenging. I always go back to I've given birth to 3 children and I've run a marathon. It's like those things when you've overcome something that you didn't think you could do, you can tap into that strength. But yeah, gosh, we all face those moments where we just think, I'm so nervous, or I'm going into this new environment. And I think just knowing that everybody feels a bit of that, no matter whether somebody doesn't appear to be, they might be really charismatic and confident, but we've all got that in us, no matter what we do for work or who we are. I think you've just got to have that inner belief.
Yeah. And hats off to running a marathon. Wow.
I dropped that in there.
Yeah, just
I know
chuck it in
everyone's
there.
just run the marathon this weekend.
Yeah, they have.
And I saw somebody put something on Instagram that made me laugh, and they said something like, "It's not about like completing the marathon. It's like how often you can slip it into a conversation after you've run one."
I haven't heard that before. That's good.
I was like, I love that because it's involuntary when anyone talks about running. Yeah, just get it in there.
So the marketing for this podcast would be Becky, the marathon runner.
Yeah, you could add that
in. And that's like I'm impressed because you're saying that 5 years prior to that, to where you're at in your fitness journey, you weren't interested in exercise at all, and then to go on and run a marathon, like it's a great measure of, you know, I mean, that's not an easy thing to do.
I don't do anything by halves, though. I am an all or nothing kind of person. Mm-hmm. So I started with couch to 5K. Mm-hmm. Couldn't run to the end of the road without being completely out of breath. Because it starts in such small chunks of like run for 60 seconds. I was like, that was nigh on impossible for me. And then I'm very determined. I'm very stubborn and I'm very determined. And when I set myself a challenge, that's happening. So yeah, I ran a 10K race, ran a half marathon, and then I just thought, I've got to run London Marathon. Just don't ask me my time. That's what I'll say.
It'll be lost.
Just don't ask me how long it took me. Okay. We won't mention that.
I'll put it in the link in the description, guys. You can find out later. Subscribe to the podcast and you'll get the time from Becky. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, I'm a slow runner, but I completed it. But I hate that. Whenever you mention it, people go, "What was your time?" Don't need to talk about it.
Do you say, "What was your time?"
Yeah. That's what I should do. Yeah. Oh, you haven't ran one, okay.
Oh, okay. I got you. Sometimes I get a few people give me feedback on the podcast, and I'm open to feedback. I like feedback. But they'll, really give some detailed stuff about, you spend too long talking about the person's life. It's supposed to be about courage, and that should be the main topic, etc., etc. And I'm like, how does that work for your podcast? And then they're like, you have to be like that.
Okay. That's going to be my new thing. Every time I slip in that I've run a marathon.
just keep flipping it. Yeah. Put a Rix trademark. I just want a little bit of royalties every time that works. Okay. I'm kidding. So I was going to ask you if there is a particular. I think I know the answer to this, but I could be.
I want to know what you think this is going to
be. Are there certain individuals who come to mind as catalysts for your courage journey? So anyone that you want to shout out today as being someone who's been a complete rock to you? Yes, I thought so.
Be my mom. She is. We're so similar, and I think as mother-daughter that can go one of two ways. But it's like we're like twins. We're like telepathic to each other. We love to do the same things. We share everything. There's nothing that she's like my girlfriend. She's like my best friend. She knows everything.
She's behind you, right? Behind the sofa. She's on this podcast right now, sharing with you.
I'm surprised she isn't. She's, but she is my inspiration, and always has been in everything that I do. Like she's amazing. I adore her. And I can't even put into words how special she is, but I couldn't have got through when I've been at my most broken. She has quite literally picked me up and put me back together. So when we are together, we are like the crazy two people in the corner of any restaurant, just hysterically crying with laughter over something and nothing, but she's just my joy. And then I have so many other women that are just gold to me as well.
Can I just say, I feel like I know your mum, right? I know. Because you celebrate her so well on your Instagram. And it's so lovely seeing you guys have a bit of a laugh and do all the stuff that you do together. And she's always got this huge smile on her face as well as you're doing stuff. And it's just like, love that. Absolutely love that.
She's fabulous. I mean, she's in her 70s, so I don't know if she want me to say that. But when I say inspiration, like she's just a powerhouse, and I hope to be like her.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I love that. Love that. And then you were saying you have a sisterhood as well. You know, strong women that sort of support you as well, which is great.
Yeah.
Good to have. If someone was listening and they didn't have those sorts of things, what would you say to them? What would you say would be a good starting point for digging deep and trying to generate some courage to take the next step in whatever they're doing?
I mean, going back to fitness, I think that's been such a revolutionary thing for me in my life, and my belief in myself, my confidence. I think to give yourself that time, and you sort of you're getting stronger in the gym physically, but you're also getting stronger mentally when you work out. It's just like the best form of medicine for so many things, and it's changed my life, I would say. Finding what I love. Les Mills classes are my absolute go-to. Okay. I'm such a fan.
Such a fan. Love it.
Such a fan.
It's so good, and it's scientifically proven as well. Those that can push their body through extreme conditions will be mentally stronger and be able to deal with mental stress a lot better when you can put your body through physical stress as well.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you don't have that, even if you don't have that support circle, going to a gym, going to a class, you are surrounded by so many like-minded people, positive people who are there for very similar things for you. I've found some incredible friends through the gym, and that's a support in itself. You know, you could, whether it's a running club or you're in the gym and you're not quite sure what you're doing, people are so supportive in the fitness community. So that would be what I would say is to find something that you enjoy, and that you it can be sport, it can be classes, it can be in the gym, it can be any kind of form of activity. But when you unlock what you love, it doesn't become it's like no longer a chore. To me, it's me time. It's my ultimate me time. And I never used to view it like that. So that kind of changed everything.
I like the reframe. No, that's good. I struggle with running specifically. I had a guy, really good friend of mine, one of my best friends, Matt Brimble. He was on a few episodes ago, and he also went through really a similar situation to us. And he found running was the thing for him. And he's always inviting me, hey, come for this run. And he'll throw in the marathon thing. He's been on lots of marathons in lots of different countries, and he's an ultra runner now and all the rest of it. In fact, when I speak to him sometimes on the phone, so I'm going off on a tangent here. When I speak to him sometimes on the phone, I'm like, you're right. He's like, yeah, I'm going for a run. So he's literally running and having conversations with people and doing
that's very good. I can't even string a sentence together.
Same. Okay. Like what? So I found my sort of exercise in badminton.
Nice, yeah.
Right, which a lot of people think is a pretty easy sport, but it is intense. It is intense because it's like, you know, tennis. You play tennis, the ball goes out. Okay, you stop, start. Badminton, it's not stop, start. It's like. Like, and so I run a league with a few guys, and I'm a bit of a hard taskmaster. I'm like, and most of us are like dads, you know, we're a little bit on the distinguished side of life, can I say? And so I'm like, no, there's no breaks. You can have a break to have a sip of water, but we're here for an hour, so that hour needs to be like. And so we come out, we're like absolutely drenched, like but it's what you said earlier on. It's how you feel afterwards.
Yes,
that is absolutely amazing. They say when you compare exercise to drugs, for example, or other addictions as well. I don't know if I can say drugs on YouTube. Oh, well, I've said it now. Can be a bit sensitive, can't it? When you take those things, you feel good as you're doing it, and then you feel terrible afterwards.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I don't, but you know, I'm not endorsing that in any way. But with exercise, you don't feel so good when you do it, but you feel amazing afterwards. So it has the opposite energy. But you feel good for hours afterwards. And so, it's nature's way of course correcting.
It's very addictive. I mean, that might just be, I do, like I said, I don't do anything by halves. Once I love doing something, I'm just very all or nothing. So I know how good it makes me feel. I know all the benefits that I get from it. So I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
I'd be there every day, morning and night, if I could fit it
in the gym, 24-hour gym. She's there she is.
Yeah.
I can't get on with running though. I've done Tough Mudder. Have you heard of Tough Mudder?
Yes, I've not done a Tough Mudder yet.
Let's do a Tough Mudder. Sign up. We'll go. It'll be amazing.
Okay. It's mud. It's the electric thing. That's what puts me off.
I think there's a version you can do where you do I think there's like an extreme one, and then you do like a cut down one, and then the cut down one doesn't have the electric in it, things like that.
Okay.
So I did admittedly I did the cut down one, so fair enough. I didn't do the electrics, but all the rest of it. Yeah. But what I love about it is you're running for a little while, but then you're stopping and you're doing an activity that takes some people together to work to get over and things, and then you go to the next bit, and so you're running in between, but you have got something that you're running towards. I really struggle just running. I'm like, I've tried all the playlists and the podcasts and the rocky music and everything, and I'm just like,
I mean, I will admit, I ran London Marathon.
London Marathon, did you say, Becky? Did you do the London
Marathon?
Wow. Did you? Oh, okay. All right.
But I've hardly been on a run since. That was a few years ago. Because I peaked and I hit that goal, and because running's hard, it is very hard, even though physically it's just one foot in front of the other. It's all in the mind. I think that's what makes it so powerful when you can get into it in terms of a fitness capacity. It's so mind over matter. But my challenge was I wanted to run the marathon, and I think I've done that, and I'm like, so this year's challenge is I want to do a high rocks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about this. I don't quite understand what it is. Would you?
It's a little bit, I suppose, Tough Mudder is you're running, then there's stations. It's like burpees, lunges. So it's all indoors, but you can either do it in teams or individually. So we have a team. We're just trying to get our tickets, and so that's this year's goal. But I love a goal. Fitness.
Yeah, it's good to have a goal. I think with the Tough Mudder, I signed up for it. We did it for charity, so we were raising money and stuff, and that went really well. Yeah. But I signed up for it, and then I didn't do any training, which was terrible. That was not a good idea.
Like a me kind of thing to do.
And then a week before, I was like, right, I'll go to the gym every day this week, right? And I'll make it work. And then I got a chest infection on the Wednesday, and we were doing Tough Mudder on, I think it was a Saturday. And I just about recovered enough to do it. Oh. But because I knew I had that goal, it's almost like your body then starts to go, right, I need to get better. And so by the time I got there, I was all right and managed to get through it. If you're going to do something like the marathon, I don't know if you've ever done one of those before, Becky, but you got to do a bit of training, don't you? So
you do. I think that's actually what it was. The training made me fall out of love with running because it was so many hours of training, and I think for me, my sort of sweet spot is like a 10K. So when I used to go out with running club, we'd do a 10K, and that felt really nice. Whereas once you're into the long distance training, you hurt and the recovery, and so it's in there. But I peaked, and then I do other things that I enjoy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's nice to have a goal. Yeah. Tick that off and go for the next one. My thing at the moment is martial art. Trying to get into martial art.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and Kung Fu is like where I'm kind of heading, because I quite like the idea of the balance, the meditation, the being at one with your surroundings, more than the actual, causing someone physical pain doesn't really excite me. But the rest of it, the flow, the chi of it all is really I'm quite curious about it. So who knows, by the time this podcast goes out, I might have gone to my first.
Watch out.
Yeah. And then motorcycling, I've just, last year I passed my CBT, and My lovely cousin, who I'll shout out, Raj, up north, has got a spare bike that he said I can come up and collect and restore and then get on a bike.
This is the thing, isn't it? This is where you do get those pockets of time that you didn't have necessarily when you're, in the marriage, and when you are co-parenting, you can, even though you're missing your children, you can try and reframe that and think, what do I want to do that I haven't been able to do, or haven't had time to do, and take up new hobbies or do things that are just for you. And I think that's where this learning about yourself evolves, doesn't it?
I agree. And going back to something that you said at the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about TV shows, or what's been something that you watch. When you turn off Netflix and you say goodbye to the binge watching, you free up time that you never knew you had.
Yes.
And there's a lot of time there. There's a lot.
And I don't know whether it is, I've mentioned this to a few friends who are single, but that was something I did in a couple, was like looking forward to the next episode of a show, and then we finish that show and we move on to another show. That's kind of gone. I don't tend to watch anything unless it's a series that I really, really loved and a new season's come out. I will watch it. But there is so much time. I mean, I fill my time, honestly. Like the few nights that I've not got the children, I'm sure I fit about 2 weeks worth of stuff into that time. Whether it's work, gym, seeing friends, dating, fit everything in, and then I'm mom, and then it repeats. But I think
the cycle repeats.
Get that time to learn new things, and while you do that, you learn more about yourself, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Dating, you mentioned there.
Dating.
You threw in marathon so casually as well. Dating. So 14 years old, you meet someone, you're together, I would assume, for a little while before you got married.
Yeah.
A fair few years. And then, so you have that experience. And then going now into the modern dating world.
Yes.
Which is absolutely different to what it was, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Has that been an eye-opener for you?
I think I probably look at it I seem to look at things in quite different ways, positive ways generally. I went on my very, very first date of my entire life around this time last year. And I actually really enjoy the whole process.
Okay.
I have quite a lot of single friends who've been single for a while, and I can definitely see where you would get quite disillusioned with the with dating in this current climate. And I think there is a lot of games, and there's a lot of things. I think if you are looking to settle down with someone and start a family, and you feel like you're on this sort of ticking time where you want to have children as a woman, it would be very different. Whereas that's not where I'm coming at it from. I'm very sort of open. I've got my children. If I never have any more children, I'm very content. I'm open to things, but I'm finding it really fascinating from a psychological perspective.
Oh, I get it.
But also I just find it really interesting getting to know people. And I think if you can, because a lot of people message me and say, I'm just too nervous to put myself out there. I'm too, I've not been on dates for so long. But the essence of it is, it's just getting to know people, and then getting to know you, and getting dressed up, which I love. And it's just, for me, it's been quite a positive experience so far. I mean, there's been a few little ups and downs and bumps, but that's to be expected. But on the whole, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it.
The ups and downs is that when you throw in that you've done a marathon and they go, "What was your time?" And then you're like, "I'm out. Check, please."
No, that wasn't it.
That wasn't it. Okay, it wasn't the chocolate or the radiators or the marathon.
No.
Okay, all right.
No, it wasn't.
I think it takes a lot of I love your framing of it. I love that, you're looking at it as, it's a great way to connect with people and then to make decisions afterwards based on how those connections go. I can definitely see I've definitely talked to enough people to understand that there can be an element of desperation when it comes to dating for people who maybe haven't been married or haven't had a long-term committed relationship, where they look at that partner as someone who's going to fulfill them. But I think if we stay in the arc of what we've been talking about today, if you're on a journey of self-development and self-love, then what you realize is you don't need another person to bring that to the table. And when you acknowledge that, it empowers you to go out there and have an ease about who you are. And when that happens, you're playing a different game, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think I just like to be in the moment, to not have too much expectation, like you say, and to not bring too much like fear, just enjoy it for what it is, and it will either evolve into something or it won't. But I actually find people I've been on dates with, I've learned something. It's like people come into your life for a reason, don't they? Anyone that I've spent any sort of length of time with or been on numerous dates, I'm learning something from them, and even just that in itself, those interactions is great. I was going to say something else now and I can't remember what it was. Something dating related. But yeah, it's I think it can just be quite light-hearted, and you're just getting to know people. But I also feel I'm 34. If I had no children at 34 and was desperately wanting to start a family, that pressure is there, and
yeah, sure.
I'm not in that position, so I can come in and just enjoy it for what it is and be in the moment. And timescales are irrelevant, really, because I'm raising my children. I think that's another thing when you come out of a divorce and you're a single parent, your peace is so sacred that first of all, you don't have time for games. But I'm like, if you're affecting my peace in any way, that affects my children indirectly. And it's a case of just enhance and let's have fun and, a light-hearted dating scenario, or it's not worth it. Because when you've been through such a difficult, challenging few years coming through a divorce, and you are trying to be the best parent that you can be, you have no tolerance for the games.
Yep.
So
totally agree.
You're just coming at it from a very different place, aren't you, I suppose?
Yeah. And you see those red flags early on, and you can say, oh, I've seen this before. So either we can address this, or it was nice knowing you.
Yeah.
Etc.
There's so many people out there as well. I think, if it doesn't work out with somebody, there's just so many people in the world, and you can find new connections, and you don't have to. It should feel very natural, and it should just be very fun.
Yep. I think was it Keanu Reeves? I think he said something like there are 7 billion people in the world, and I can't remember how he worded it. It's probably better than I can say it, but let's say you disconnect or it didn't work out with someone, instead of holding on to that. That's just information to know that this isn't your person, or this isn't the right person for the time that you're in that, and to move on from that. And it's okay. And you can do that in a way that is respectful. It doesn't have to be this big, explosion, firework, guns blazing type thing. Yeah. All right. Last point on dating. I had a podcast with Erica Laws. I'm shouting you out, Erica. She's an international dating expert.
Oh.
And then what she does is helps people or coaches people, I should say, to to find what they're looking for by working on themselves and understanding what it is that they're looking for, instead of going out there. It's a bit like buying a car. I need a car. Okay, what kind of car do you want? Sorry, that sounds wrong. I'm not comparing people to cars, but
no, I think it's analysing what are you looking for.
Yeah, and then understanding yourself. Why are you looking for those things? And to be honest with yourself. Oh, I'm not looking for this because it sounds shallow. Actually, though, are you looking for that? Yeah, but it sounds shallow. It might sound shallow, but that's what you're looking for. So
yeah,
either work through that with someone or come to terms with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was shouting her out because her podcast episode will come out soon, and when it does, I'll send you a link as well, because she brought some really cool things to the table. Excellent. All right. I think we need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Before we do, if someone was listening today, what would be a key takeaway point you'd love them to walk away with after listening to me and you chat away about life?
Believe in yourself and lean on your support group when you need to. That was probably what I would say. You're capable of so much more than you think you are. And there's always other people going through something, and you can find that support somewhere. With online, obviously there's so much shared online, and you can connect with people who are going through something similar. But believe in yourself. You can do it. Whatever it is, you've got it.
Do you believe in signs, Becky?
Yeah, I think I do, yeah.
I say that because I had to go through something this weekend. It was really tough. And I thought I'd had to do it alone, but I called a friend and he supported me. And he said almost exactly that. It was a hard thing that I had to do. And he almost said exactly what you said there. Gave me like the biggest bromance hug that mine's his physical touch as well. Yeah. So he gave me the biggest hug and just held me and held that safe space for me to then go, do you know what, I can do this and step forward. So something I put up actually on Instagram recently was like, going in courage is important.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm an advocate for that, but it doesn't mean you have to go in courage alone. You can lean on your support circle. So I just wanted to throw that into the mix based on what you said there.
Yeah, absolutely. They're there for you, you're there for them when you need it, and tap into that. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you get stuck, just call Becky's mum, because she's a legend. Yeah. She'll help you out. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Oh, I've loved it.
And thank you for coming on. It was your first podcast ever. I'm sure you're going to go on to do other ones as well. But I'd love to have you back on this one. We can.
Yeah, I would love that. I would
unpack another topic. Yeah. All right. I'll hold you to your word now. So there's no getting away. You can't say no. I'm busy. I'm running a marathon. I can't do that right now.
There's no more marathons in me.
But before you do go, I wanted to give you an opportunity to just let us know where people can connect with you. If someone resonated with what you had to say today, they wanted to reach out, what's the best way of getting in touch with you?
Yeah, so I am at Inside Number 5 on Instagram, and over there I am sharing predominantly renovating my new home. So the family home's been sold post-divorce, and I've bought a fairly new build, only 2 years old. So I'm taking a very blank canvas and packing it with character and renovating DIY by myself. So there's a lot of that content there, but also lots about divorce and single motherhood and travel and lifestyle and fashion and just a little bit of everything. But that's Inside Number 5. And then this year I am going to be doing a lot more over on TikTok and YouTube as well.
Excellent.
So that's going to be sort of different angles and content for the different platforms. So that's exciting.
Excellent. Love it. Because that hasn't launched yet, what I'll do is, and you can hold me to this and check up on me later, is when that comes out, I'll get the links from you and I'll put it in the description below. If you're listening to this on YouTube, go down into the description and there'll be links to Becky's content there as well.
That's great. And I also have another account on Instagram, which is my travel opportunity business. So that is Inside Number 5 Travel, if you are interested. that's another place where you can find me.
I'll just throw that in the end so we don't have time to unpack your travel stories there, but you'll have to come back and tell us all about that as well.
I will, I promise.
Okay, excellent. So once again, thank you so much for sharing your insights. Again, I'd love to have you back in the future. And yeah, I guess if you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube, our message to you today is to keep moving forward and to go in courage.
Yes.
Hey, really hope you enjoyed that episode and that there was something that you found interesting in the conversation between me and Becky. You can reach out to her on her Instagram. I'll put loads of links in the description of everything we talked about. You can also reach out to me. Instagram is the best way to do that. And that handle for that is @GoInCourage. While you're here, just want to say that the Courage Journal is available. It's 31 days of building courage in an authentic way in your life. You can grab a copy from www.goincourage.com and the links will be there for you to order a copy for yourself. Moving forward, please do hit that subscribe button before you go, and I shall see you on the next episode. Whatever you're doing, keep moving forward and go in courage.